It's hard to picture American television without MAS*H. The series didn't just draw big audiences. It changed what a sitcom could be. It premiered in 1972, near the end of the Vietnam War, and though it was set during the Korean War, viewers understood exactly what it was really talking about. The show mixed comedy with real sorrow, and its odd, endearing characters captured both the absurdity of combat and the toughness of the people caught in it. Audiences loved it almost immediately, but off-screen, the production was anything but stable. As the writing pushed further into social commentary and richer character work, friction built up among the cast, and several fan-favorite performers eventually chose to walk away. Some left for personal reasons, some for creative ones, and some because the job itself had become too painful to continue. Here's what actually happened. The MAS*H story didn't start on television. It started as a book. In 1968, a Korean war surgeon named H. Richard Hornberger wrote a fictionalized account of his wartime service under the pen name Richard Hooker. The novel blended dark humor with real pain, and it became a bestseller, which caught Hollywood's eye. 2 years later, director Robert Altman turned the novel into a film starring Donald Sutherland and Elliott Gould. The movie was biting and irreverent, and it landed hard with a country still consumed by Vietnam. It won the top prize again and an Oscar for its screenplay. CBS saw an opportunity and, in 1972, turned the concept into a weekly series developed by Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds. The show kept the wartime setting and the dark comedy, but leaned into serialized storytelling and deeper character development. Alan Alda took on the role of Hawkeye Pierce and quickly became the emotional center of the ensemble. The first season nearly got the show canceled due to weak ratings, but CBS gave a new time slot on Saturday nights, and the audience followed. From there, MAS*H became known for breaking convention, using real combat footage, skipping the laugh track in favor of authentic sound, and refusing to shy away from the human cost of war. Alda himself grew into more than an actor, eventually writing and directing episodes and pushing the show toward greater realism. But that evolution came at a cost. As the show deepened, several actors felt their characters weren't growing along with it, or they simply couldn't keep giving what the role demanded of them. Across its 11 seasons, the cast changed repeatedly. Here's the story behind some of the most significant exits. Ask longtime fans which single moment hit hardest, and many will point to the final scene of the Season 3 finale, Abyssinia, Henry. A quiet line from radar changed everything. Word that Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake's plane had gone down over the Sea of Japan with no survivors. That was the exit of McLean Stevenson, the first major cast departure in the show's history. Stevenson had played Blake, the frazzled but warm-hearted commanding officer, since the beginning, a performance that earned him a Golden Globe and real affection from audiences. But behind the scenes, he'd grown frustrated. As the series increasingly orbited around Hawkeye, Stevenson felt sidelined. He told a magazine in 1975 that he wanted to be the one carrying a show, not playing second fiddle. It wasn't pure ego. He genuinely believed he had the talent to lead his own series and didn't want to get stuck as a supporting player forever. So at the end of Season 3, he told producers he wouldn't be returning. Rather than write Blake off gently, a transfer, a discharge, a tidy goodbye, the writers chose something far more drastic. They wanted to remind viewers that this was, underneath the jokes, a story about war, and that not everyone makes a home. The Abyssinia, Henry finale spends most of its runtime as a warm, celebratory send-off before Blake heads home. Then radar delivers the news in the operating room, and the episode ends in total silence. No score, no laugh track, just stunned faces. Most of the cast didn't know the twist was coming. Only Gary Burghoff, who played Radar, had been told in advance so he could prepare. Everyone else's shock on camera was real. CBS was flooded with letters, some praising the honesty, others furious that a beloved character had been killed off. The show's creators stood by the choice, insisting it needed to reflect the reality that not everybody survives. As for Stevenson himself, his post-MAS*H career didn't go the way he'd hoped. He signed a deal with NBC and starred in a self-titled sitcom that was canceled after one season. A second show fared even worse. Years later, he admitted he regretted the decision, saying he'd taken himself out of the game. His former castmates spoke fondly of him, and when he died in 1996, tributes remembered him as warm, funny, and generous, even though the role he left behind became the most memorable of his career. If Stevenson's departure was loud and unforgettable, Wayne Rogers' was the opposite. No farewell episode, no explanation on screen, just gone between episodes. Rogers played Trapper John McIntyre, half of the original wisecracking duo alongside Hawkeye. Their chemistry defined the show's early years. But Rogers had signed on expecting a true ensemble show with roughly equal screen time for the main cast. As the series evolved and Alda's character absorbed more of the spotlight and creative influence, Rogers felt his role shrink into something closer to a sidekick who simply reacted to whatever Hawkeye did. Unlike Stevenson, Rogers didn't make a public fuss. He quietly declined to renew after season 3, and producers reportedly didn't even know for certain he was leaving until shortly before season 4 began filming. It turned out Rogers had never actually signed a formal contract. He'd been working on a handshake agreement the whole time, which meant the producers had no legal basis to hold him to the role even when they considered legal action. His sudden absence forced the writers to scramble, and season 4 opened by simply explaining that Trapper had been discharged while Hawkeye was away. There was no goodbye scene for character at all, and audiences reacted with frustration. First Henry, now Trapper 2. Mike Farrell stepped in as a new character, B.J. Honeycutt, a calmer, more grounded presence than Trapper had been, which shifted the show's tone in a more introspective direction. After MAS*H, Rogers moved away from acting almost entirely and built a second career as a financial investor, eventually becoming a familiar face discussing markets on cable news. Despite the abruptness of his exit, there was no lasting rift with his former castmates. Alda later called him one of the smartest people he'd ever worked with. When Rogers died in 2015, Alda posted a warm tribute describing their long friendship. Gary Burghoff's departure was different from the others. Not about billing or ego, but about genuine personal strain. He played Radar O'Reilly, the wide-eyed company clerk with an uncanny sixth sense for incoming helicopters, and his performance,